The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Hey ladies, I couldn't wait to give you my 6 to 7 week update on my hormone therapy. Can I just tell you, I feel amazing. On a daily basis, I feel consistently just happy and sane and normal. The mood swings, the extreme mood swings have subsided, where you just want to snap at somebody 1 minute and then cry the next. The foggy brain is lifted. I'm sleeping better. I don't need that 3 o'clock cup of coffee or a nap. So if you are suffering, ladies, please go get your blood work done today. I cannot thank Etrabel and BioT enough. The other thing is, and I can talk about this because I'm married, ladies, when your hormones are out of whack, what happens? Zero interest in sex. And that is such a huge part of a healthy marriage, to stay connected. So I got my libido back. I got my sass back. So let's just say Aaron is a happy man. Go get it checked today. Don't wait.
We take a look into a kind of secret society, baby boomers ready to do whatever it takes to stay young. Since 2006, prescriptions of testosterone have doubled since 2006, and they're expected to triple again in the next 5 years. ABC's Neil Karlinski tells us who is doing this and at what risk.
They are a mountain of aging boomers.
Got my mojo back.
I think every guy over 50 should be doing it.
Putting their younger, ambitious coworkers on notice. They plan to keep winning in the boardroom, in the bedroom, everywhere.
I mean, honestly, I like looking at myself in the mirror because I look frickin' awesome.
He says the secret is testosterone, which 57-year-old CEO Chris Running showed us as if it was no different than a glass of orange juice.
So that's it, twice a week?
Yeah. You know, our generation is trying to stay as young as we can for as long as we can.
You can see it in those ads, appealing to the 70 million boomer men unwilling to fade quietly into old age.
You might have a treatable condition called low testosterone or low T.
A boost of testosterone, long the illegal drug of choice in sports, is being touted by some as a virtual fountain of youth and just a prescription away.
I've gone from a 38 waist, relaxed fit jean to a 34 slim fit jean, which I never in a million years thought I could get my one leg in one of them.
In the 3 years he's been taking tea, Chris says he has transformed himself into a younger man. 2 hours more work per day, 30 pounds of fat gone, and muscles, bulging muscles, more impressive than anything he had in his 20s.
Do you notice the physical change too? I mean, he talks about 30 pounds and
yes,
muscle.
absolutely. And he looks great. He's in great shape.
We wondered, can it really be that simple? Dr. Karin Power says yes.
I hear a lot of men come in and they talk about the young guys coming in and they feel the challenge.
Is that okay or is that cheating?
If your levels are low and I bring you back to a normal level or an optimal level, then aren't I just, leveling the playing field?
So what is normal for what age? The average 20-year-old's testosterone levels can reach as high as 1,080. But as you age, the levels drop without drugs. By age 60, the average high is only 720. So is it right to pump up testosterone to the levels of a much younger man, a level that in many cases more than doubles a man's testosterone? Not so fast, says Dr. Edmund Sabani, an expert in testosterone at the prestigious Cleveland Clinic. He's worried about the wave of boomer men using tea to stay artificially young.
Right now, we don't have guidance in the medical research that suggests it's safe to stay at those levels.
And there are serious possible side effects of too much testosterone: blood clots, liver damage, and some doctors are concerned about its impact on prostate cancer. The New England Journal of Medicine warns that only about 2% of men over 40 should be getting any boost at all. Chris Running and the growing number of boomers just like him aren't worried.
The bottom line, I mean, you're sold.
I'm absolutely sold. I will never not do this.
Risky or not, he says slowing down so the next generation can move up is not an option. Neil Karlinski, ABC News, San Luis Obispo, California.
Right. Get yourselves together. Right. Stand up and live your life. Right. Get yourselves together. Right. Hands up high.
Welcome to
to the Rise Above show. I am Joe Peroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
And do we have any announcements before we announce our guest?
I just want to thank Jay Young from City Athletic for sponsoring our show, The Rise Above Show, this week. And you can reach us at www.dbtv.com. All of our shows are archived there. Also on YouTube, Facebook, and josephperoni.com.
Perfect. Is that it?
Because I'm not doing my my little supplement.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're throwing you out
show.
again. Yeah, that's because we have a guest.
You must have done something wrong.
All right,
so I did something good because you know what? I had some comments on my last coconut MCT thing, which I'm going to ask you about today.
Okay.
And a couple of girls came and they said, "Oh, I never knew that. I'm going to start doing that." So I was like, "Oh, okay." The little tidbit.
Very good.
Wasn't a little tidbit.
I love it.
So our special guest today, he's the medical director at Ageless Forever. And yes, medical director. This is Dr. John Pierce. Now, okay, let's see your arm for a second.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I do.
No, because I'm not a bodybuilder. I just train.
The point is, this is not...
He did it. There you go. He did it. Good one.
You don't look like a doctor.
Well, you probably don't check
awesome.
your prostate, that's for sure.
So tell everybody what you do. You're a hormone specialist and with a focus on health promotion, anti-aging?
Well, yeah, the whole idea is wellness, and there's a few branches to that. To me, wellness encompasses balancing the hormones, good diet and exercise, obviously, and proper nutritional supplementation. And proper is the key word. There's a lot of people that go around and take a bunch of different supplements with no idea what they're doing. They go to, as I say it, they go to GNC and the zit-faced kid behind the counter points them in the right direction, or the most popular brand that's selling. That doesn't mean it's the best brand.
Right, of
so
course.
Quality makes a world of difference. And one of the unique things about my practice is I actually test for the things that I recommend. So if I say, geez, Joe, you're a little bit low in your B vitamins, here's a good B vitamin, and a few months later we're going to take a look at that again and see, did you get the results that we were looking for? And if not, do we need more? Do we need to change something? So that's a little bit different than just kind of willy-nilly going out there and taking things.
Right. So it sounds like, okay, in the medical community, they're all about, well, it seems to me, pushing the drugs, right? They're disease-oriented, so to speak. Well, and yours is more preventative,
right. So the dictum is in my opinion as well, is exactly what you said. The traditional medicine paradigm is more reactive medicine, and mine is proactive. So let's start doing things before the problem becomes a problem, and we can hopefully eliminate that. So if you take known risk factors for things like heart disease and diabetes, and you can eliminate them, that doesn't preclude you from getting the disease, but it really makes it a lot less likely.
So what kind of clients do you see? Like, who would go to you first? In other words, like if somebody's like, there's something's killing them, they know something's wrong with them, they go to a doctor.
Right.
And then they give them drugs to mask the symptoms. Is that how it works? But you, it's different.
I mean, I get all types of patients. Generally, they'll come to me because they have gone to their primary care physician with a plethora of symptoms. They were given some basic lab work, and then their symptoms were dismissed. So they went in. A very classic example I like to use is a lot of women have low thyroid issues, and people are more astute today. We have the internet, so you can go on the internet and look at these issues and go, geez, I'm constipated, I'm cold all the time, I'm tired, my hair's falling out. I think it's my thyroid, doc, can you check it? So they go to their doctor, and their doctor checks their thyroid, and he does a very basic thyroid test. He might just do something called TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone. And if he's a little bit more astute, he'll do something a little further, and he'll check the T4 levels. Well, that's all fine and dandy. TSH is the hormone that comes from the brain and goes to the thyroid, tells it to go to work, and the thyroid primarily puts out T4. Well, if all that's fine, they say your thyroid's normal. The problem with that is that the active form of thyroid was never checked. T4 does nothing. It has to get converted to the active form of thyroid, T3. So if that's not checked and they have low conversion, he's absolutely right when he says your thyroid's normal, but your conversion is what really matters. So they don't check for the conversion, and now the patient's dismissed with normal thyroid and a whole plethora of issues that they have no idea what's going on now, and they're frustrated.
Right. Wow.
Right?
So how come they don't know that, and you do? What's the gap in their knowledge?
I mean, we were all taught the same stuff. The difference is I took it a step further, because a lot of things in medicine to me are common sense. So if you take a little bit more common sense approach, common things happen commonly. And once you understand the hormones a little bit more in depth, then it makes some of this stuff pretty obvious.
Right.
To me.
Don't you think it's easier for you with your job in a sense, because a lot of people that come to you, not everybody, they come coming into your office with, I care about my health, care about what's going on, so they're not the person that doesn't. Like when I started coming to you, it was like, I'm done. I need to. So most of the people that come in your office, most of the people I've referred, or the women I talk to, they never even hear of half of this stuff. I said, you've got to go to a hormone specialist. You can't go.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The majority of my patients are health conscious, and they're proactive in the things that they do in their life, which makes it a whole heck of a lot easier for me than the general primary care physician. Because when I used to work in the emergency room, you would see a plethora of people that didn't take care of themselves. And I make the reference to, you get somebody who's, 400 pounds coming in with a bucket of chicken wings, and smoking a cigarette going, I'm having chest pain and I don't know why. It's not far-fetched, right?
Yeah.
And they would look at me and say, fix me. And my common response is, I can't fix you. I can keep you alive, but you have to fix yourself.
Right.
And so, so to that point, there are a lot of people that really don't take a proactive approach to their health, and what befalls them. But the majority of my patients are very proactive in their health, and they want to just take it to that next level and to really maintain a higher level of health and fitness and things of that nature. So it does make it a little bit easier for me in that aspect. And then, with that goes them following the directions. So they're very compliant is the term that we look for. So if I say, do this and only do this, they'll do that.
Right.
Whereas a lot of guys in primary care, they run their heads into the wall because they tell their patient, quit eating sugar, and they just, they come in drinking a soda.
Right.
You have diabetes, you can't do that.
They want another prescription.
Right, and that's what they do. Well, you can give me another drug to cover this, so I'm good. And it's, to each his own. I'm not saying, not passing judgment on those folks, but that's not how I would want to live. And so.
Right.
Do you find in your medical community with your doctor peers, because you're in a different mindset with medicine, being pro, and they're more more when you're sick?
Yeah.
Do you?
Nah, I think they see value majority of the time. I think if you can't see value in it, you're blind, and it's just either that or you just choose not to look. So, and everything that I do is highly scrutinized as far as medical studies and things of that nature, and I follow my patients very, very closely, as you well know, with both lab work, and I make myself as available as possible for them to reach out to me, and things change. I mean, absolutely, not only do things change in the individual, but things change in medicine.
Right. What interests me too is somebody like you, like obviously you're a good doctor, and you work out, you do all these other things where you're dedicated and committed all the way up to here.
Mm-hmm.
And what I notice is like, you take a regular medical doctor, they have to know that nutrition is important, but yet they don't go outside of their own box that they were taught to actually think, well, maybe I should learn a little more, right? Because I'm going to ask you a question, I already know the answer. To be an MD, how much nutritional training or education do they need to get to be an MD?
Well, there's zero.
Exactly.
Zero to get into medical school.
Right.
And, quite frankly, I'm a DO, so I can't speak about MDs. So I'm a doctor of osteopathic medicine. But we had a lecture on nutrition, and it was by an obese surgeon who was talking to us about parenteral nutrition, or feeding somebody through a feeding tube. And I kind of got in a little argument with him in medical school because his idea was wrong. It was giving them 60-70% carbohydrates and a little bit of fat and a little bit of protein. I said that's going to cause problems. They're going to have spikes in their insulin, and it's not good. And he argued with me, and it was kind of funny because I wish I would have remembered his name and his information, because in 4 or 5 years that all that parenteral nutrition data had changed, and they went to higher fat because that's what's needed at that time. And I wanted to be able to, and I remember when that happened, I wanted to write this guy a letter and go, I guess I was right. He's probably paid attention to me, but he's probably dead from a heart attack or something.
Yeah, you can't talk to him. But it's so interesting because even in the bodybuilding field, so to speak, is most people think we're kind of like lunkheads, we're still 10 to 15 years ahead
Absolutely.
of where the medical industry is. Am I right?
No, you're 100% right, but that's because there's a lot of self-experimenting going on, you know. So, and in medicine, I can't recommend something that, especially with a medication, that maybe bodybuilders are using it for one thing, and if it hasn't kind of been studied and really looked at, and it would be not a good thing for me to recommend. Because if, God forbid, there was something negative that came from that, now I'm responsible for that.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot more liability. I don't even like the term liability, but that's what it is on me. Right? So I have to take, first do no harm. And I really have that fiduciary duty to make sure I take care of my patients and do the right thing for them. So, but I agree with you. In the bodybuilding world, people do a lot more self-experimenting, and they find, listen, that's why we have a lot of the changes in the dietary food pyramid that have come about. So we're seeing more and more healthy fats, less and less grain in the diet.
Exactly.
For health, right? So
yeah, like if you're going to write up a diet for a diabetic, let's say, how come for so many years it's all about heavy starches?
It makes no
for
sense.
A diabetic? What, are you kidding me? I think any 15-year-old kid who works out at a gym for 6 months knows what that does to your blood sugar. It makes no sense, right? I mean, you take it from here. How long is it taken for them to change that? Or are they still doing that?
Well, I was fortunate enough to work with a very, very good endocrinologist here in town when I was a medical student. And he was a big proponent of more of an Atkins type. And he would tell people, you can eat a cheeseburger and you can have all that stuff, but just take the bread away, and don't eat the French fries and don't drink the soda, but eat the meat and drink some water and you're fine, And so he was a big proponent like that. And he was trying to get a point across,
right.
Eat more vegetables, eat more fruit, eat lean, healthy meat, and you're fine. Stay away from carbohydrates, especially the processed stuff. Breads, pastas.
Right, of course, yeah. But in your field, though, do you ever feel like you're a rebel? That you're fighting against not just society, because society sells a whole bunch of garbage, right?
Absolutely.
And then you have the doctors they make a lot of money. So most of them that I seem to see, they figure, I make a lot of money. I don't need to study nutrition. I don't need to study exercise. I don't need any of that. I'm driving around in my expensive car. I'm good.
I don't know that it's a financial thing, to be honest with you, Joe. I think, at least I believe that most doctors are doing it for the right reason because they're altruistic and they want to help people. If you look at the insurance paradigm, and I don't take insurance for this reason, these doctors have to see between 4 and 6 patients an hour, so 10 to 15 minutes per patient. How long would it take you to sit down with somebody and discuss diet with them? Can you do it in 10 to 15 minutes?
Not even
close.
Not even
you
close.
can't even scratch the surface.
No.
So what happens is that these patients come in with issues, and the doc says, hey, you probably need to clean your diet up, and that's all he has time for, but now I've got to address the issues that you came in here for. And so if your blood sugar is high, well, I got to reach in my bag of tricks. And I told you the last time to clean your diet up, and it was still high, so now we got to start doing something.
Right.
And as far as the insurance companies go, they don't reimburse this guy for telling, even if you did spend all 15 minutes and you could help them with their diet in that time, you don't get reimbursed for that. But you get reimbursed for treating the high blood sugar and things of that nature.
So it's in the system, the whole
it's
thing.
The whole system, and that's what is being said when they say the system is broke. That's how. I think, honestly, the insurance companies, whether who runs it, it's all broken, and it needs to be fixed on a much deeper level.
Now, just for fun, just to bring out your personality a little bit more here.
Uh-oh.
I come prepared, man.
Come on.
I've got a couple of quotes from you that I took from ESPN, everybody.
Uh-oh.
You remember this?
Well, I remember doing a couple interviews.
Okay, because these are direct quotes, all right?
All right.
I'm going to go over the are you a rebel in the field or not, okay?
Well, I probably am.
All right, here's your quote. Speaking of doctors, I think they all should be orchidectomized, which I didn't know what that meant. That's castrated.
No, well, no, and I didn't say all doctors. What I said is for the male doctors that come out and say that testosterone is bad.
Okay, yes,
Okay?
all right.
Without, and just make that blanket statement. then I think they should have an orchiectomy, and they'll have no testosterone, and then they can come and tell me how terrible testosterone was to them. Because when they're sitting in the corner crying and they're depressed and they want to put a gun in their mouth, and they're getting fatter and they're losing lean muscle mass and they have no libido, okay, come let me know. I guess they can make the argument, well, there is a study that showed that eunuchs live a little bit longer. Well, you can live longer under those circumstances if you like. I don't want to be around feeling like that.
That's what I'm trying to bring out. So yeah, it's they should have their balls cut off and see how it feels not to have any testosterone.
I absolutely believe that.
Now, we're not trying to win friends and influence people here, right?
Well,
but I love the way you say it. It's honest and it's true.
I speak from the heart.
Yeah, I've got more. This
Come
is
on.
even better. I love this. I'm actually trying to memorize this because this is great. You ready?
I'm ready.
It says, get on some testosterone and stop hanging out with your friend, the king, the clown, and the jack-in-the-box.
Yeah, I was referring to a particular individual that worked. Well, he was on an HBO documentary on testosterone, and he was trying to bastardize testosterone. And they had other doctors on there going, "Hey, listen, there's plenty of evidence to show that it improves heart health and body composition and reduces risk for diabetes." And they were giving all the good things. Well, this guy is a physician, and he was involved with the WADA, which is the World Anti-Doping, right?
Right.
And I think his position, understandably, is maybe athletes that are competing shouldn't have an unfair advantage. And I wouldn't disagree with that. But he was trying to say that, testosterone caused liver failure. Show me a case. It doesn't exist. And he was kind of talking through his backside as far as I was concerned, because he was naming problems with testosterone that there are no clinical studies to validate, at least to my knowledge. And I've looked at thousands of clinical studies. And as he was saying this, I mean, he was probably 350 pounds of unconditioned chewed bubble gum.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if you were really worried about people's health, then leave testosterone alone and let's fight the fast food industry that's, dumping sugar into all types of food. And I looked at a post that you had the other day on Facebook that was talking about sugar being 8 times more addictive than cocaine. Right. So now they use sugar, and then they use something even worse than sugar, which is high fructose corn syrup. Right. So that's the industry. I mean, if you were really, really concerned about the general population's health, that's the industry you'd look after.
I agree. But, okay, so I was thinking about this too. I think about this all the time, not just, when you were going to come in here. But part of it comes down to money again, right? Like, we want to sell the cheapest stuff because we're looking at the lowest common denominator of people, right? That brings in the most people. So some of the stuff you're talking about, though, has to deal with commitment and dedication. So do you think part of it is that they might have the knowledge because it's there, they can look for it to see, let's say, the pros of testosterone, but we also live in a really pussified country right now. Like, there's a lot of men that don't want to do well. They want to just go down the street and eat from Jack in the Box. They don't want to perform well as a man. What do you think about that? I think our society has changed a lot.
Well, it absolutely has. I mean, in my opinion, it has been demasculated. And the media is kind of doing that. It's if you come out and you act like a man, you're vilified. They want more sensitive men and, softer men. And, there's good and bad to that, But if the bottom line is, the reality is, testosterone levels have declined over the last 50 years.
Absolutely.
The sperm production in young men has declined. So if you look at fertility data, the numbers that we've looked at in fertility for having motile sperm have completely dropped. And so we keep saying, okay, we keep lowering the bar, saying this is normal, this is normal. Why is that happening? Well, probably because a lot of xenoestrogens in the foods. We use a lot of plastics to cover and transport and do all this. So there's those xenoestrogens that come from the plastics that would decrease testosterone. I mean, look at some of these young kids today. To me, it's heartbreaking. There are some out there that remind me of me when I was a kid, but not many.
It's funny. We have that conversation all the time. we go to some coffee shops now and then, and it's something that we like to do. Just sit back and you relax, and nobody's trying to push you out the door. And it's really interesting when you watch the college crowd come in. All these, it's almost like they're very neutral. The
gender
men,
neutral.
Yes, and I can't tell the difference between a boy and a girl half the time. The men are really kind of.
But that's kind of what the way things are being pushed societal. I know it's kind of what side of the aisle you sit on, so I don't want to get too much. But on that liberal side, they're kind of pushing more for that, right?
That's true, but I'm not that kind of liberal.
Well, and right. So I mean, there are. You know, it's just saying I'm saying blue and red, but and it doesn't have to be that way. But you see, that's more that side. You see less on the conservative side.
Oh yeah.
With, the issues. Personally, you go look at the transgender issue that we talked about. Personally, I don't care where they use the bathroom. To me, I don't care. I know transgender people. I have transgender patients. They're the nicest people that I've ever met. So I don't really care where they go, and they're not hanging out in bathrooms waiting to do bad things to kids. They're not, right? So I don't even get that argument. And it was never really an issue, I don't think, until we made it an issue. Till somebody came out and said, I'm going to make sure that they can use the bathroom. Nobody ever even thought of it before. They didn't even care.
Yeah, no one would know. I mean, who would be checking?
Well, some of the female bodybuilders I've dated, they've gone into a female restroom, and I've seen women come out.
We need to have a little talk about that.
Yeah, I've seen the other women come out going, "That was a man, that was a man," and it was kind of funny because then their husband or boyfriend would sit there, and then my girlfriend would come out, and they'd because they didn't know what to say either, because she'd kick the shit out of them too.
All right, so true or false? You have or had a girlfriend that did an obstacle course against you, and she beat you.
She kicked my ass. It wasn't she beat me, and it was not only did she do that well. The officers, because this was a search and rescue course. There were a few of the officers that didn't beat her time either. So yeah, she was a stud or whatever. She's a beast. Absolutely.
I said this to Joe the other day. We were talking about men and women in training, and I said I think women are always we're not like men, but we tend to be stronger in endurance, and I'm not sure. I'm not. Because you look around the gym now, and you'll see. And again, this comes down. This comes
now.
No, but this comes down to what's going on in society now. I look around the gym and I walk in. I go, look at all these women. They're jacked. They're trying. They're trying really hard. And you got all these men, these young men walking around, and they're not even. I would be embarrassed if I was a young guy and I sat next to some girl and her delts were bigger than mine. I seriously would move.
Yeah, well, that's.
And it's just weird.
So we have you on the spot right now. You're being recorded. Be honest. You don't have to answer just for yourself. You can answer kind of for yourself and for other women. Ready? We're going to listen to this right now live. Be honest. Most men right now are like 65% men. They're not full-on men like my father, your dad. What do women see? Are they trying to pick the best out of the worst? Or do they, you know what I mean? Like when a real man comes by, do they actually go, thank God there's still some left? Or have you just given up,
In my generation, honestly, I think that women still want a man. They want a man. The younger girls, I'm not sure what they want because they're in a culture that they know what they know. So if you're with a guy that's, most of the men their age are not men, that's what they know. A man would scare them probably. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think that I agree with you, but I think that changes with age. I was a big kid. I stopped growing at 11 years old. I was 6'1", 11 years old.
Wow.
I had a hard time finding a girl to date until I was towards junior, senior in high school because they were all afraid of me or intimidated or whatever. And then as they got a little bit older, and then as I got older, it became less and less of an issue. And the more masculine I became, it became even less of an issue. But in my mid-20s and 30s, I had a tendency to date older women because they appreciated that a little bit more. And the younger girls were still kind of little put off by that level of masculinity
Right.
for whatever reasons. I don't know. I never really looked into psychology, but you know, and then now it does. You know, it's all good now, I guess. 'Cause,
You find your niche.
You find your niche, right? But coming through, it was, you know, there was a little bit of that though.
Yeah.
You know, the you know, you and I both know the term pretty boys. Those were the guys. You know, they were, you know, a little bit more on the feminine side, and women flocked towards them.
Yeah, they did.
So
it's made them feel more comfortable.
Maybe less. Yeah, I
It's
don't know.
hard to speak for that. I had this gentleman at the gym the other day, and he's a friend, and he's like 20 something. And what I wanted to say was, he came over to me and he says, "I wanted to say hello. I see what you're doing," and I said, "You need to stand up straight." And he goes, and I said, "If you're going to talk to a woman, you have to stand up straight. Your posture." And I mean, he was a young, and I
Well,
think
yeah, it's because you have old world values, and we need to
And
keep
he
instilling
went,
those.
Okay, he goes, "Well, I just want to see how you're doing. I don't want to bother you." And he, you know, but
And
I
he was
checked him because I
scared to
thought,
death.
but I said, but here's the thing: if he's
No,
going to
it's
be a man,
beautiful.
if he's going to approach a girl that's
Right.
his age or whatever, 25, 26, a girl is not going to be attracted to a guy that walks up and goes, "Hi, I just wanted to."
Well, maybe
You
now.
know, but that was the point. I don't know. Maybe the girls
Maybe
say
now.
that they're okay
They
with
want
being
that. I don't know.
the alphas. You know, maybe
Yeah.
more women are becoming more dominant.
Maybe we're becoming more like hyenas now. Well, it's the alpha female in the hyenas, right?
That's pretty funny. we'll be dead before
We'll be
that
dead
actually
before-
takes
I hope
over.
so.
But so going in that line, what we're really talking about, right? Like, okay, so I like football. Let's say you like powerlifting. You know, we like all these
Yeah.
sports. We talk about in social media, let's say, about performance enhancing, right? We see it in football. We see it in all these sports. But I'm thinking, who cares? The biggest performance enhancing thing for a human being is your life, right? We only have one that I can prove.
Right.
And it's important to, as you get older, what nature kind of takes away, that why is it wrong to want to enhance your performance in life? Like, that to me is so interesting, how people are so down on that. And you have a rough road, you know, like, I mean, I know you do well, don't get me wrong, I understand that, but every time you read something, it's always negative about someone trying to do performance enhancing. It doesn't make sense to me.
Whose eyes you're looking through. So if you're a public speaker and you get nervous to go up there, and somebody writes you a beta blocker to help you speak better, well, that's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's performance enhancement, because without it, you would have been up there stumbling and stuttering.
Right.
And so, well, this is okay, but testosterone's not for a male. How do you differentiate? You know, it just depends on who's looking at the performance enhancement. And if it helps them, then it's not performance enhancement. But if it helps somebody else, then it is. And
Right.
so, you know, I mean, when we talk about sport, I don't think anybody should have an unfair advantage. But let's break it down. So if I was a professional athlete, is my testosterone level the same at 25 when I enter as a professional athlete? And let's say that I'm really good and I have a 10-year longevity in the sport, and at 35, I'll guarantee you that the testosterone level isn't the same.
No.
And now we take it to an impact sport like football, and those repeated head traumas cause dysfunction in the area of the brain called the hypothalamus, and the hormone levels drop even further. And now you're asking somebody to play with a half a tank of gas, and if he does anything to fill his tank, you're calling it
Right.
unfair advantage when he's just leveling the playing field. So, you know, that was my argument, because I had some fighters that came to see me with very, very low testosterone levels, and I brought them up into the mid-range of normal. And then I was in with this ESPN argument, I was in an argument with an orthopedic surgeon who had no idea about anything with hormones. He says, well, I can ask an endocrinologist, because I had a personal phone call with him. And I said, well, go ask, but here's the normal range. And he's in the normal range, and I've got him there. Without it, he wasn't. So you're asking him to fight with one hand tied behind his back.
Right.
And now I've given him both hands, and we're not at an unfair advantage. He's not at a super physiologic dose. So where's the problem? And then he couldn't answer that, and I hurt his feelings because he didn't know enough about
his
it.
Testosterone was
well,
low.
no, that's because he went to Duke, and he was a little bit above me in his mind's eye. So once his feelings were hurt, then he took it as a personal vendetta, and he started to try to attack me sneakily, going through the media and doing things behind the scenes, and it just showed me his character, which was less than
Shitty.
yeah, well, it was just less than appreciable to me,
Right.
and really showed his level of professionalism, in my opinion, which was weak.
Right.
So, and I actually talked to one of his partners and said, hey, listen, I'll come over there to the office and speak with him man to man.
Oh, no.
And they didn't want that.
Yeah, man to half man, and that's what the problem is, right?
Well, he did, and his partner agreed though. Was kind of like, yeah, he's going off half cocked, because he would give facts that didn't exist. Or if they did, they were kind of half facts.
Yeah, I think again, it's they're championing a anti-masculinity type of agenda. I bet you could find 19-year-old professional athletes that have higher testosterone than
the average 19.
Than the average 19. In other words, if you take that 35-year-old athlete and you move them up into, let's say, a mid-normal range, okay. Sure, but I bet you there's somebody who has twice that, who is 19 years old, who's not touching anything, but yet their testosterone's higher, but nobody's talking about that.
No, because that was my whole point. How do you level that playing field? You say, because they said, well, we're going to say a level of 700 is the max it can go. Well, that's great. So let's test all the fighters, and anybody who's over 700, let's put them on a drug to lower their testosterone.
Exactly, that's what would happen.
And then now
right?
that's the game you want to play. Okay, now you're in a hornet's nest.
Right.
So why don't you leave it to the experts and allow this level to come up to be within physiologic norms, and that's it. Especially a physiologic norms for their age. So their basis, at least at the Nevada Athletic Commission, was, well, these are the standards put forth by the American Society of Endocrinologists. But those are standards for a 65, 70-year-old man. So we're not talking about that. I understand that you're trying to set some standards, but why don't you look at normal testosterone levels for a 35-year-old?
Right.
Or maybe even a 40-year-old, and say, okay, we're not going to go over this level. Because there weren't many fighters that were lasting past 40. That's a very difficult game to be in. There's a couple, right? Were they on anything? We don't know. I mean, the assumption is no, they weren't, but I don't know. The bottom line is, if they did the right thing in that they just said, okay, we're not going to have it at all, well, perfectly fine. So don't allow any therapeutic exemptions, let the levels go down. And now what you're seeing is less and less fighters with years of experience and more younger fighters, because as the experience level goes up, the age goes up,
right,
and the hormone levels drop, and their ability to compete goes down, because they can't train as hard, they can't recover as well, and those kinds of things. So you've kind of leveled the playing field for younger people and taken anybody who's 35 plus, except for the rare individual, and eliminated them. So that was just okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you say in there. Where do I go with that? Okay, so let's take a person that's not an athlete. You start getting older. What are the symptoms of a man, let's say, getting older, right? Like, you're the doctor, name them off. Yeah.
Well, I mean, getting older or just losing levels of hormone.
Oh, right.
Specifically
okay,
testosterone.
as your testosterone goes down, you're going to see certain effects, right? It'll affect you in the bedroom, let's say.
Yeah, so the libido goes down, the ability to get an erection and sustain an erection, spontaneous erections in the morning, and all that stuff drops. Body composition drops, so you get increase in body fat, decrease in lean muscle mass, fatigue, inability to sleep, mood disorders, depression, anxiety,
that would
nervousness.
make me depressed. I mean, right? So if we take that person, and let's say a doctor, let's just say, hand out Viagra, right? But tell me the difference between testosterone and Viagra. Which would be the better pill overall?
Well,
like testosterone's a vasodilator, true?
Yes. So is Viagra.
Right.
How much Viagra do you produce naturally?
0, I'm going to say.
Oh, okay. Good.
Right.
So now, if you have low testosterone, shouldn't that be treated with hormone?
Absolutely.
It's just like when a woman starts going through menopause and they go to their OBGYN or primary care that doesn't do anything with hormones, what do they give them? An antidepressant. Why is she depressed? Because she feels like crap, because she has low estrogen and low progesterone and low testosterone. So you're giving them something different. So you're treating, the problem is that there's a pothole in the road.
Right.
Fill the pothole. Don't give you a detour around it and say, here's the fix.
Right.
No, fix what's broken.
Yeah, see, I love that you said that, because that's what I was trying to bring out. Like Viagra is, again, it's just here you go.
Well, it has its place.
Right. No, I can see
Absolutely has
that.
its
But
place.
shouldn't we look at the testosterone first?
Absolutely.
Before we go to the other.
Well, and I think overall health too, even with females, because females go through what you just said. And a lot of times and I know this for a fact, they go to regular MDs and they either put them on the birth control pill and an antidepressant, like you said, to balance their hormones, balance them.
Yeah.
And it's at that point when they'll say, you know what, I know that's where I got. I said, I'm not taking these antidepressants. I'm not depressed. Because then the physical part of menopause comes in too, which are the physical things that happen. And then they end up coming to see you and trying to educate people. Even I'm a hairstylist, I'm not a doctor, but it always amazes me how much people really don't know. My female clients will come in complaining. I said, well, there's something you could do about it. Well, my doctor said, well,
I mean,
it's not working, or
back to that timing kind of thing. You've been with me for a while, and you know as well as I, it's not, here's the hormone, and this dose is perfect for you and everybody, you're good to go. It doesn't work like that. It takes a lot of time and effort, and women are much, much more complicated than us. We're simple. Give us a little testosterone, we're generally okay. We gotta work with testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone in women. And we have to, our levels of estrogen and progesterone are there, but they're so low that you almost don't have to worry about them if you get the testosterone level balanced appropriately. So for a lot of docs, they don't want to take on that challenge of trying to have to balance a female patient, because quite frankly, some women can become crazy because their hormones are off. And it's not, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's their hormones are off, and it really affects them mentally. And until they get right, it's problematic, and you're dealing with somebody who's very, very challenging. And a lot of docs don't have the time, and they don't want to waste the energy. And I welcome those patients. I go, okay, well, just as long as you communicate with me and you're patient. You have to be a patient, because it's not going to happen overnight. But the more communication you give, the more I can, and the more direction you give me, because a lot of this is guided by lab work, but the majority of it is symptomologic. So if you're coming through and you're still having these issues, we need to give you a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, and that's how I do medicine. I treat the patient. I don't treat the lab value, the test. The test is there to guide you, so you make sure that you're not going too far off of one end or the other. Right? Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense, because the way I like the one of expression that I like is that the map does not always reflect the territory. Right? You look at a map and you're going, okay, I get it, but it's not showing me the hills, the this and this and that and the other. And so I think you're right. You look at the paper and you're going, okay, I see it, but then you see the patient and it's not lining up.
Right.
Yeah.
2 and 2 doesn't always equal 4.
Right. Yeah. So you have a lot of responsibility. It must be pretty difficult.
It's my passion, so it's not difficult. I love what I do. And the feeling I get when you get somebody who comes in at their wit's end and they're lost, they don't know which way to go, and within a few months, and sometimes sooner, you get them balanced and they come in going, oh my God, I feel so much better. There's no dollar and cents that gives me that feeling, right? And you just feel so good. And there's so many times that I walk down the hall after I bring the patient up to get checked out, and I'm like, yeah, I nailed it. And I feel so good, and it gives me such a joy to be able to do that. Absolutely. Awesome. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. And I don't lay in bed going, geez, I got to go I get the honor to go do what I do for a living. And not everybody gets to do that,
So Heidi, if you can, tell the women that are listening what it feels like. Because I know you're a patient of Dr. Pierce's. So tell me emotionally.
Tell me what a whack job.
No, I don't mean that. That's you go in that direction. I mean, what type of symptoms does a woman have?
A woman, usually a woman will start where her sex drive goes down too. She ends up getting sometimes vaginal dryness, so that you need to always keep lubricated down there. So that can become an issue because things can't be as spontaneous. the mood swings definitely. You know, you go from being very happy to you get sad. You can go into, you know, rants for no reason, you know, just start freaking out. In my case, I noticed I wasn't able to sleep either. The sleep pattern started to change. I would lay awake at night, very tired. I mean, I just had a whole slew of things that I felt were.
Do you get like night sweats, dizzy? All those things happen?
I never went through that. Some women talk about when they go. I never went through a full menopause. In my situation, I started early, so at that point was when I started hormone replacement because I was going through the changes. I was getting a period every so many months, maybe twice, 3 times a year. So I decided at that point that I wanted to get things leveled out to some point because I was tired of feeling like shit because this went on in my 30s. Sometimes mid-30s, but every woman's different. Some women will have the hot flashes and the mood swings. Most of what I hear is the mood swings. They notice their hair is thinning out. That's a common thing, and I'll say, well, you need to get your thyroid looked at, your hormones again. So the skin and the hair starts to change, you know. So, but those are, you're not crazy, and you need to get that fixed. You shouldn't go through life, you know, not having a sex drive in your 40s or 50s or.
I'll say that was well said. She needs to come work from in my office.
There you go. I was going to say, is that what you see?
She's absolutely on point.
Okay.
Absolutely, and you know, to that point, I think one of the most severe symptoms is the vaginal dryness that women have.
It's terrible. Do you know what I had a doctor say to me? I went for a minute because I was trying to save money or whatever.
That's a good point to make.
Okay,
Don't save money in that area.
So I did go because I thought, well, maybe, I was going through a financial thing at the time, and I thought, well, let me see what I can do. And I went to this guy, and he said to me, and he was a regular OBGYN, he said, I tell my ladies, we'll just invest in gallons of lube.
Right. So
now,
really,
that's
again,
an appropriate
that's a doctor.
Thing.
But
that's an appropriate thing to say to a female that's coming to you, and
but that goes back to my pothole example. Don't fix the problem, give a detour around it, and that's exactly what that was. When the problem was you didn't have enough estrogen to be able to self-lubricate.
Right. And when you're with somebody and I just started dating you, I was like, God, I can't even have sex with this guy because it's so painful.
Well, to that point, I mean, just think about, it's painful not only for you, but for your partner. And if it's painful, then but it's not enjoyable then.
No.
So now you take something that is a very integral part of a relationship and you make it painful and no fun for either party, and you lose that. And somebody's response is just buy more lube. I think that's weak at best.
Yeah. And that's the way women get treated too, by the way. So, to just buy some more lube. Okay.
Or, and the contra for men, you say, well, I'm having all these symptoms of low testosterone, and they check the level and it falls within the quote unquote normal range, but at the south end of that range, they say, well, you're getting older, get used to it.
Well, again, really, people are afraid of performance.
Well,
right?
When I hear that, I heard this analogy. I think I heard it from somebody else, or did I make it up? I'm not sure. But I think of shoe sizes, right? And so when it says, well, you're within the normal range, then deal with it and go, okay, doctor, what shoe size do you wear? Well, I wear 10. Okay, great. What's the normal range for shoe sizes for adult men? I don't know, maybe 8 to 12. Okay, well, here's an 8.5. Put it on. Well, I wear a 10. But you just said the normal range was here. So you said I fall within the normal range, but maybe my shoe size is a little higher in that range, but you were comfortable with that. Now I'm going to say for you, because you can fit into an 8.5, you're going to be uncomfortable and it's going to suck, but go ahead and wear that shoe. Huh. And that may help to open some eyes.
Wow.
Right?
No, it did for me. Just even, that's true.
Well, even the same doctor said to me too, he goes, well, you can't expect to be 20 years old again. And I said, listen, I don't want to be 20, but I want to be the best 40, 50-year-old woman that
Absolutely.
I can be at my age. No, I don't. I'm realistic.
Yeah.
But don't insult me. Don't make it.
That's their easy out though, right? So that's another dismissal type thing. Right? So you're dismissed. I don't really want to talk to you, and you're going to either do it my way or you'll go see another doctor.
which I did.
You know, and from my from my side, I also feel like it's very weak on their part emotionally, because a strong human being would say, you know, my knowledge in that area is not the best. So, okay, that's not my area. Let me refer you.
Absolutely.
Not say, okay, I don't know that, so I'm going to tell you it's good. You know, and that's the part that's not even ethical. It's not even ethical to be.
You're
like
100% right, but I think there's a lot of, I know there's a lot of ego and thought of omnipotence in medicine, like I know it all. And so, and even the public gives doctors that credibility to where my doctor said this, so it's like gospel. And it's not true. We are not omnipotent. Everybody out there, doctors don't know everything.
Well, and I think
and they don't know
people
everything
need to know
about medicine. Nobody knows everything about medicine. Things change.
People need to be more proactive though with their own health, and doctors they guide you, they give you advice, they can help from
Absolutely.
whatever information that you give them is what they go off of. So if you don't tell them the whole story, you're not going to get the proper treatment either that you're supposed to get. And I tell my girls all the time, I said, you need to communicate with your doctor, and you also need to know your body.
Absolutely.
Know your body, so that when you feel something different, and if the guy or the woman, whoever the doctor is, isn't doing what you think is appropriate, you need to go find, and if you got to go through 6 doctors before you find do it.
Well, and it's tough because, you know, a lot of people rely on their insurance, you know, Medicare and things of that nature. And again, a lot of those physicians that are in those insurance models only have a certain amount of time to deal with the patient. And they don't want to take on the more complicated issues. And it becomes problematic for the patient. And, you know, as I said earlier, I don't take any insurance at all. So there's pros and cons to that. But one of the biggest pros for me is I can spend time with my patient, and I can sit down and talk to them. Every new patient I spend at least an hour with, 45 minutes to an hour, but more than likely an hour. And that's going over their labs, listening to their symptoms, putting together a program, making sure they understand it, answering all their questions. And then when I see them on subsequent visits, they're 15 to 30 minutes, but generally 20, 25 minutes is where they last. So they have plenty of time to ask questions, and I always ask them, is there anything else I can do for you? Do you have any questions I haven't answered? And we try to go about it that way. So you know, to me, education is the biggest part of being a doctor. We're just a teacher of medicine, of the human body. And then we say, well, you have this issue, here's about this issue, and here's how we can correct this issue. Or treat it, you know, minimize the symptoms. And some things cannot be corrected completely, and you just have to manage it, but a lot of it can be, you know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because as a therapist, sometimes we have to work with Medicaid. And Medicaid, they don't know anything about therapy, but yet they're telling you what the code needs to, and how long, and what you're going to do. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm actually not really doing therapy then the way I want to do it. I'm being handcuffed, you know, and it doesn't. I don't want to be. I do the best I can, but it doesn't work as well when I just take cash and I can do whatever I want and spend my time that I want to.
Absolutely, that's why I chose to do things the way I do them. You know, so I really can't stand the idea of somebody who is less qualified than me in my field to tell me what to.
Right, exactly.
You know, so when I have insurance companies go, you know, you have to give us a reason for this. Well, here's my notes. We need more than that. You need an education is what you need. And I can't give you that, you know.
So we only have a few more minutes, but I want to ask you some other questions here. How's your mom?
My mom's great, thank you. She's 93 years old.
93.
You know, the biggest issue for her is her little arthritis. And if I could find a cure for that, because her little hands don't do the things that she wants them to do, and now they're going every which way. So it kind of limits her ability to do a lot of the things that she enjoys doing. But boy, she is mentally as sharp as a tack, and you know, and really she's not on many, if any. I think she's on a blood pressure medication, and she doesn't take that as much as she needs to, or she doesn't need to take it as much as she's prescribed it. So really, her blood pressure goes around her diet, and if she's eating well, she's doing okay. And most of the stuff I have her on is on supplements. So I get I call her every morning on my way into work, and I see her. I take her out to dinner at least once a week, and then she gives me her order for her supplements that she's out of. So,
I bet you she knows more than you.
I would never argue with that. I tell you, my dad passed away when I was 21, and he still gets smarter. And he told me that. He said, I'll be dead and gone, and you'll realize I'm getting smarter every day. And son of a bitch, he was right. Because some of the things that he told me when I was a kid, I had no clue what the hell he meant.
Yeah.
Now I understand what they meant. I go, man, he was right again.
I like when you talk about your parents. Tell me something that your dad has instilled in you. Because I enjoy talking to real men, by the way. So obviously your father did a great job. So tell me a little.
The first thing that comes to mind is, my dad was really about numbers, kind of a numbers guy. So he taught me when I was a kid, learn your numbers. And people are amazed that I can do. My accountant was in my office the other day, and we were talking about it. I said, well, that's this. And he goes, how did you? I'm like, you're my accountant. It's like, you should know how to do this. Like, it was just kind of funny. That was, one of the many things, that, he kind of taught me that, back to, our generation, and then this younger generation. How many kids you see today generally opening the doors for women? Any door. And it doesn't have to be with the woman they're with, just any woman.
Yeah, that never happens.
I
still do it. You do it?
Absolutely. I feel terrible if I walk through a door and I look behind me and there was a woman that I didn't see, and I'm like, oh, and I try to scramble to get back.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, and I apologize, and they're like, because this isn't right, So
that's your dad still being there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we only have a minute to go. Tell me about your hip.
My hip's amazing now.
You had a hip replacement.
Total replacement of the left hip, just like you. It was a little less than 3 months ago. I'm back squatting and deadlifting. I went snowmobiling this past weekend. I was supposed to go skiing, but I chickened out because I want to make sure it's a little bit more stable before I take on that endeavor. But otherwise, no pain and good strength and good mobility. And I'm not walking like Nostradamus.
Like I was too.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Knowledgeable, everything. I always enjoy talking to you.
Pleasure.
So thanks for being here, and thanks for listening to the Rise Above show. I am Joe Peroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
And
I'm Dr. John Pierce.
Thank you.
My pleasure.